Hi Virgo, welcome to your week ahead Taroscope with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. Quick note, my readings are for your sun, moon and ascendant signs. So whether you're a sun, moon or rising sign Virgo, this is for you. And I always advise that you watch all three to get a clearer, more complete picture of how they're going to speak to you. With that said, remember they are general readings. Not everything's going to resonate with everybody, and that is just fine. You should always use your own discernment. Before we start, as always, I would like to bless my deck of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise and they help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So for your key to the week, this week you've got the Hierophant card. So really, I guess the thing that I want to say to you is this week, don't be surprised if you are having to... I almost want to say to you, like, I kind of feel like this week you might find that everybody and anybody has a million questions for you. Whereas usually people defer to, you know, the establishment or the institution in some way, shape or form. This week you may very well be that, right? So don't be surprised if this week there are a million questions on you. People want to know what your opinion is. It's actually because in a lot of ways they look up to you. You know, you may not have the time for it though, depending on what's going on in your own life, etc. I actually like this energy for you because it kind of feels for me like you're starting to understand how you can become your own authority, how you can become your own institution, and more importantly, how you can build something from the ground up that stands or lasts the test of time. With that said, for those of you that are continued subbies, you know I love you for it. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to like, share. If you should so choose and this resonates, hit that subscribe button. So for your foundation card this week, you have the High Priestess. So these two together, it's funny because I was actually going to talk about this. Isn't she beautiful? Just look at, I love this deck so much. What I will say to you is this week, finding, perfecting or relying on your personal spiritual path and or practice is going to be vital, all right? In some way, shape or form, I want to say the strains or the constraints that are put on you, they may feel like they are a little bit too much to bear, right? Maybe you feel like you're being pulled in too many different directions to really be able to function at a level that you believe or feel is optimal. And it kind of like in my head, I'm hearing that song like, sometimes I throw my hands up in the air, like you know, very out of tune, I'm sorry. But that is the song that I keep hearing for you. And this makes sense, right? So when you see the High Priestess with the Hierophant card, what is he? He's a high priest. So the High Priest and the High Priestess are coming together. This is a very powerful, very spiritual energy, but it is also an energy where really starting to build, create or rely on a spiritual practice or a religious practice, if that's what speaks to you, is going to be vital. Now, if you've seen my 2022 videos, you'll have heard me say this many a time. 2022, and I talked about this with Heather from Astrology with Heather in the 5-year overview that we did. We made a lot of predictions in that talk that we did. It was a webinar. You can purchase that on her website. We talked a lot about a lot of things, and basically 40% of the stuff that we talked about for the 5-year period has already come to pass. It's actually quite uncanny. Now, that being said, a spiritual practice is what's going to get you through 2022 and especially 2023, right? So this looks like a time where you are starting to put this into practice, or at least starting to get a feeling that actually I need something else here. All right, so really very interesting. For your actions and options this week, you have the Death card. What are you ready to release, to end, or to let go of? You got this with the Hierophant card. I'm going to be really honest with you. This could be, now for some of you, this could be an anniversary of a death that just hits a little different this time round. You know, and for those of you that have lost somebody, I'm truly sorry, and I send you my condolences. This could be for a select few of you as well. Maybe, just maybe, you are attending a funeral or you're being invited to a funeral this week. And again, I really hope I'm wrong on this front. I just kind of know what I see in the combinations that come up. So That's one way that this could show up. Now remember, this is about your actions and options. Excuse me. Your actions and options is all about what you do, right? And the Death card, it's kind of like a moment at which we get presented with something that we can release, all right, that we can let go of, that we can kind of say, okay, you know what, this has run its course. This week, it may be a moment where you realize, okay, you know what, the way that I've done things previously, or the person that I've been, I now need to lay that to rest because there's something else that I want and need to be. And so you're building this new spiritual practice or something that you can lean on so that you can be the person or the thing that people defer to. That's probably the easiest way that I can explain it. I don't want to say you're becoming a guru, but I do want to go as far as to say something this week is going to show you where you're likely to be either in the limelight or in a spotlight of sorts that will see people relying on you the way that that others rely on their faith. And what this tells me is that you yourself are having to build a spiritual practice in order to bear the weight of whatever's being put on you. You put the weight that you have on you onto something greater or bigger than yourself. This doesn't mean that you have to now suddenly get really religious. It just means that building a solid spiritual practice that you do in earnest is going to get you through. For your communications and conversations, you have the Chariot card, right? So for some of you, this could be some sort of oh shit. That's an interruption as well, bollocks. Okay, sorry, language Raf. So on a personal level, because this is your reading, but it is also, there's an interruption here. On a personal level, the Chariot card could literally speak to some form of travel that comes up. This might be an invite to something. It might be that maybe some of you are taking a trip to a sacred site. Maybe some of you are taking a pilgrimage of sorts. You know, maybe you're taking a journey to somewhere that you believe or feel spiritually connected to. Interestingly enough, though, the travel that you're doing may have something to do with your work, and so you might be working this trip into the travel that you end up having to do. Now, the Chariot card coupled with the Hierophant can mean the Far East. Well, I say the Far East can mean the Middle East and countries of that kind of origin and or region. And then we've got the Death card here as well. I don't know why, but I kind of get this feeling, and I touch wood, I truly hope I'm wrong on this front. We may see something, you know, maybe a powerful leader in the Middle East dies. We might see something along the lines of something kicking off over there in that kind of region of the world. And it's very likely to have a religious slant about it. And the fact that this comes up in the Virgo reading, Virgo being the sign of service to the world, I wonder if this is something along those lines. I'm really, really intrigued by this. So I apologize, but there's an interruption. It's really weird. I just know when it's an interruption. I know when what I'm seeing isn't necessarily for the sign. Now, that being said, on a more personal level, for those of you that are employed, this could be a week where maybe you are thrust into a leadership position, right? There's millions of questions coming at you all of a sudden. Maybe your boss walks out and their boss comes to you and says, well, look, there's nobody else to do the job, so on you go, right? And you might find that you suddenly have more responsibility put on your plate. You might find that for some of you as well, maybe you're having to go to a different branch of your company to cover. And so suddenly you've got all this new responsibility. You've got all these new questions that you've never had to answer before. Really interesting stuff. For those of you that are business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, people that work for themselves, it's a similar kind of energy. The difference is this looks like expansion that you're not ready for, right? So let's say your usual client base is around 300 people and it suddenly jumps to 6, right? Amazing, yay, because that's awesome, super growth. But it comes with a whole set of new problems, a whole set of new logistical things that need to be considered. This is something that you need to be aware of. The demand for your supply, whatever that might be, looks like there's going to be an imbalance in that this week, and you are having to really stand firm in order to deliver, and to deliver the quality that you are known for as a Virgo. When it comes to your those of you that are retired or no longer working for any reason, excuse me, and we're not even at Capricorn yet. If you're retired this week, this would be a really good time for you to plan that trip that has a spiritual element to it. Let's say, you know, you've always wanted to see Stonehenge, or you've always wanted to go to, what is it called? The Wailing Wall in Israel. I think it's in Israel. Please don't get in the comments at me. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's some sacred site or something that you're being called to, and I kind of feel like this week it really is more about the internal stuff. What do you believe? Why do you believe it? How does that speak to you? How does it inform your life? For your love and relations, you have the Knight of Cups. So for those of you that have children, specifically Scorpio teenagers, or Cancerian teenagers as well, actually. For those of you that have children and you have water sign children specifically, this week they are likely to need way more support from you. This could be a week where you clash with your children if you have water, especially if you've got water sign children. Usually earth sign and water sign parents and children get on like a house on fire. This might be one of those weeks where something that you say or they do, or vice versa or whatever, it just does. It's like almost like pouring petrol on a fire, right? You might find that it just gets a little bit out of hand. Now, whatever solution you offer, and it does look like it's you, like whatever solution you offer, it's just going to be met with, do you know what I mean? Don't take it personally this week. For those of you that are single, I want to say it's through travel this week that you're likely to meet somebody, or somebody that you meet that lives in a very different place to you, that you meet through your work. So it's not going to be somebody that's close to you. It's not going to be somebody that you see every day. It's going to be somebody that is transient to you, but transient to you through your work. For those of you that are partnered, married, in long-term commitments or committed relationships, I mean, there's a potential, in fact, not even a potential. This week, you're likely to be having a lot of conversations about the future of the relationship, where you see it going, what you want from it, what you guys want to create together. And you might decide that something that you guys had agreed on, that maybe your partner now says to you, look, I think we're going to have to compromise on this. You might be really ready, willing and able this week to let go of, something that was a really strong stance for you. So maybe, you're the one that always said, no, I definitely want to have children, whatever. And your partner's always been like a bit reluctant. You could be the one that says, actually, you know what, now that I've thought about it, I don't actually want kids anymore, or vice versa, like however it's going to speak to you. For your money and materials, you have the Daughter of Wands. So this is the Page of Wands. I like this. Excuse me. Sorry, I've got the yawns bad today. What's going on? What this speaks to me of, more than anything else, this is a week to get creative in your finances. And the reason I say this, with the extra influx of work, responsibility, etc., it looks like the chips are going to start really stacking up. So you now need to get creative with your finances and ask yourself, what can I do with this surplus of money? And the reason I say this is I kind of feel like your money will be increasing, but your ability to spend it will be staying the same. So you might have all this extra money now, just from this week onwards, just start to pile up. If that's the case, and you can do something constructive with it and not necessarily spend it on, stuff, junk, whatever, this could be, for the long term of your plans or your material existence, this could be very, very good. For your physical health and vitality, for me, this is a very leonine energy. So this suggests to me that you will have the energy to get everything done, but I feel like by the end of this week, you're going to be laid out on the sofa like, Whew, you know, good week, but bloody hell, it was busy. And then when it comes to your home and environment, this could be a week where you decide to do something new to the home. Maybe you're decorating, maybe some of you are painting. You've got a really interesting set of cards here, I have to say. Probably one of the more interesting ones that I've seen. Sorry, I know this is a really long reading at this point. With that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic week. Let me know in the comments how this one shapes up. Take care, and I'll see you soon.